Good evening everyone and welcome to Gundam News. And first things first, we're now in May, so that means a new Gunpla lineup. Although for the regular releases, we're gonna have to wait until the end of the month to get them. On the 21st, we're getting the highly anticipated Full Mechanics 1/100 scale Raider Gundam for 5,500 yen, 45 US, and the high-grade C-Classes Schwalbe Custom for 1,760 yen, 15 US. And then on the 28th, 770 yen, around 7 US, will either get you the SDW Heroes Night Strike Gundam or SDW Heroes Robin Hood Gundam Age 2. And links to pre-order them are of course down below. And then before we move on to the other headlines, I want to expand a little bit on the new Bandai model kit factory that I talked about last time. Bandai didn't explicitly say where they were going to be planting this factory as far as I could find, but I am 99.99% certain that it's going to be in Japan. First of all, Bandai is very proud of their model kits being made in Japan, which is something I can totally understand. So I don't really see them opening an overseas factory. And secondly, the land that they acquired is 4,506 tsubo. Which is close to 15,000 square meters, or many square, please use metrics. So yeah, that definitely sounds like they're going to be planting it somewhere in Japan. But the good news is that they did explicitly mention that they saw the increased demand of Gunpla outside of Japan. So that is definitely something they're going to try to remedy. So at the very least, they seem to acknowledge that we also want Gunpla. As for the fans of other Bandai model kits then, this factory will be producing all of their other kits as well. It's just that they're using Gunpla as their main example because, well, Gunpla is kind of their main line of model kits. Then our first new headline is short and sweet. On May the 1st, Gematsu reported that Bamco trademarked G Generation Eternal on April the 21st. Something that would suggest that a new SD Gundam G Generation game is in the making. So hopefully we'll hear an official confirmation along with more details on this very soon. Then from Cucuruz Doan's island we get some more images. There was the theater banner in all of its old school Okawara goodness, where we could see Amuro and his Gundam facing Doan and his Zaku, with the Southern Cross Corps in between. And what really struck me here was how the lead Zaku's heat sword actually looks more like a beam saber, because it has the pink effect going on. But then, when we look at the movie screenshots they released 12 new ones. One of them is showing the lead Zaku, but with a correctly colored yellow heat sword. And this image also highlights one of my points about the movie's use of 3D animation. When nothing is moving, they do look pretty good, as you could also see on the image of the Zaku, the gun cannon, and the RX-7802. In fact, some of them look really good. Like this image of the one Zaku, like the lightning here is super well done. Then you've got the clouds on the background, giving it a really nice atmosphere. Or this other scene where you have Zaku's marching through the flames. You've got the blazing fire and then the mono eyes of the Zaku's shining through. And like, it even makes me wonder, like, that is supposed to be 3D animation, right? Because, well, in the trailer, every mobile suit on screen was rendered in 3D animation, at least as far as I can remember. But not all of the stills are great either, like this one of the Gundam fighting against the lead Zaku. It really looks more like a screenshot from a video game than from an anime. The other screenshots then are just the various characters of the movie doing various things, like milking a goat, Sligger being whispered something, and Bright facing some kind of crisis. Today then, they released this adorable image for Children's Day, which is today, and over on their official Twitter, which I will have linked down below, they released 21 character icons that are perfect for profile pictures, and a bunch of coloring pages for you to have fun with. On the music front then, after their anniversary album, 2mix will now also be releasing a tribute album called Crysta-Rhythm. It was announced on the 29th, which is the anniversary of the group's formation, and more information will be released at a later date. Alexandros then announced today that they'll be releasing a new album called, but wait, Cats. And that is not some weird translation on my part, that is literally what they're calling the album. The album will be released on July 13th as a regular edition for 3,300 yen, 30 US, a limited edition with DVD for 6,600 yen, 55 US, a limited edition Blu-ray for 7,700 yen, 65 US, and a limited edition with 2 CDs and 2 Blu-rays for 13,750 yen, a little over 100 US. And the album will of course include Senko, the theme song for Hathaway's Flash. Moving on to the gaming news then, on the 26th, Season 2 of Gundam Arsenal Base will begin, which will include units and characters from Zeta Gundam, 00, and the 08th MS team. And if you want an early taste, I'll have that trailer linked down below, as well as the Graham Acre Experience trailer. And what I'll also have down there is the new UC Engage trailer showing off Pesce Montagnu fighting against Chima Garahao. Although, in order to watch it, you will need to activate your trusty NordVPN. And if you don't have it yet, fear not, because you can get it with the link down below or the code kkrt. Not only will it give you a sweet discount, but you'll also be supporting the channel. As for the new things to do then, by playing through this new story event, you can unlock the high mobility Kämpfer, as opposed to the regular Kämpfer, which definitely was not high mobility, and Michelle Kano. You'll also be able to get the Gundam GPO4 and Chima Garahao through an event gacha, and of course there's going to be a lot of login rewards. Over at Gundam Battle Operation 2 then, they kicked off their Golden Week event last week, which will last until the 8th. Hangars have 3 times the success rate, and duplicate machines received from supply drops have 3 times the enhancement value. Char would be proud. And then from Gundam Breaker Mobile, I got the notification that the Gundam Vual arrived on the 4th. But moving on to the really exciting stuff now, the results of the Gundam Evolution network test. 91,500 people from Japan, the US, and Canada participated, and of those, 8,572 Americans and Canadians answered the questionnaire, and 6,949 Japanese did. And the results are very promising, with about 90% of participants saying that they either liked the game or really liked the game. And the developers are also taking the negative feedback into account and are promising to work on those things. So first, the good. The game is exciting with a good pace, and the role of each aircraft also isn't too limited, allowing them to be somewhat flexible on the battlefield. The first negative then has to do with player behavior, players dropping out of matches, and bad manners. Although the first one was also due to network errors, something that the team will be working on going forwards. As for the bad manners, they'll be taking measures, so I guess a report button or something. What was a bit problematic then were the rules. Like, I guess for veteran, the rules are kinda self-explanatory, but for people who just jumped in the game because, well, they liked Gundam and they wanted to play a Gundam game, but haven't necessarily played a first-person shooter or a first-person hero shooter, felt a bit lost and didn't really know what to do. So they plan to integrate a tutorial for those people. Another great thing then is that they'll also implement the ability to set up custom matches with your own rules. Something I feel has been like standard for like first-person shooters for a long time now, so that's definitely something that should be included when the game actually launches. The final piece of feedback then is that players using a controller want aim assist, which is something that they're currently not planning to implement on the PC version. Something I'm kinda split on. They say that they do this to keep things as fair as possible, which is something my gut feeling does tend to agree with. But on the flip side, we have seen shooters with cross-platform capabilities where this does seem to work. So let me know down below what you think about this, because I personally haven't played any of these shooters, so I can't judge too hard one way or another. But again, my gut feeling is that giving aim assist to controller users can be a tricky balance. What I can say for certain though is that this definitely seems to confirm that there's going to be no cross-platform play between PC users and console users, because aim assist will be in the console versions. As for the feedback on the individual units then, the one that I've personally heard the most about is definitely the Barbatos and its deadly close combat capabilities. However, there were some really interesting things that came to light. Apparently, the people playing with the Barbatos only used the barbs once they got used to it, so they got really good with the damn thing, whereas everyone else was just trying to play with different machines, trying to like try out everything that the game had to offer. So they just weren't as familiar with the unit that they were playing with. So they simply didn't necessarily always know how their specific machine could counter the Barbatos. And then the second problem was that the units that were specifically made to counter the Barbatos, being the Turn A Gundam and the Marasai, didn't work as intended. And even specifically their weapons that were specifically made to counter the Barbs didn't work. Didn't work well enough. Like the Turn A special attack wasn't accurate enough, the Marasai wasn't powerful enough, and it didn't switch fast enough. So both of these are going to get buffs to kind of rein in the barbs a little bit. And what really solidifies the fact that the barbs might not be as problematic as it sounds is that when you look at the machines used by the top 10 players, it does only appear twice, and then in 5th and in 8th place. And what I found really funny was the top ranked player used the Dom Trooper. It also appears in 9th place, then the Sazabi in 2nd place, the Gym Sniper 2 in 3rd and 4th, the RX-78-2 in 6th and 7th, and then finally the Ashimar in 10th place. So for everyone who had trouble with the barbs, it seems like that problem is definitely going to kind of iron itself out over time. And these top 10 player results get even more interesting when you compare them with the total playtime rankings. Going from top to bottom, we have the Pale Rider, Sazabi, Gundam Barbs, Zaku 2, RX-78-2, Methus, Gym Sniper 2, Gun Tank, Dom Trooper, which appears really low considering that the top player was using it, Gundam Exia, Ashimar, Jim, and then Turn A and Marasai, the two machines that definitely needed that buff. And then the other machine that was seen as overpowered was the Gym Sniper 2 with its very powerful sniper rifle. And rather than simply nerfing the power of the gun, they're instead adjusting the critical hit radius. Because what they noticed throughout the test is that the Gym Sniper 2 players were landing crits way more than expected. And by making that radius then smaller, they're also making it more skill-based, while still keeping the spirit of the machine alive. And finally then, they're also planning to do a home console network test soon, but the changes they discussed here will not yet be implemented, which kinda sounds like a missed chance to me, because if the Turn A couldn't successfully counter the barbs on the PC, I don't think it's going to fare much better on the PlayStation. But anyways, in other news, a new illustration of SD Gundam World Heroes The Legend of Dragon Knight was unveiled. Back on, Takanori Nishikawa and Suizo and Inoran from Lunacy will be appearing at the Bamco Entertainment Festival 2nd, and the Gundam factory Yokohama will be closing for long-term maintenance from May the 9th until July 15th. That sounds like quite a long time for just maintenance, so I wonder if they're going to be upgrading it to the full armor Gundam, or maybe even upgrading it to RX-78 3-spec with magnet coating. Only time will tell. On the bright side though, after this maintenance, it will remain open until March 31st of 2023. Or maybe I should say at least until March the 31st. As for the things we could get this week then, on the 29th, the Gundam Base released the Gundam Base Limited Master Grade Eclipse Gundam Clear Color version for 5,500 yen, 45 US, which then begs the question, when will we be getting a clear color version of the matching backpack? And on the same day, we could also get the Master Grade Gundam Base Limited Gundam H1 Wear System Set Clear Color version for 8,800 yen, 75 US. It comes with one Master Grade H1 Normal, Sparrow replacement parts, and Titus replacement parts, and of course, they're all in clear color. And then on the 3rd, we got the entry grade Gundam Base Limited RX-78-2 Gundam Base color for 770 yen, 7 US. It is the entry grade RX-78-2 that comes with just the beam rifle, the shield, and 2 beam sabers, but now in Gundam Base blue and with some Gundam Base marking stickers. As for this week's reading material then, you could get the Mono Magazine May 16th edition, which features a special on the upcoming high-grade Gundam Aerial, the June issue of the GQ Japan magazine, which has an interview with Yoshikazu Yasuhiko about Cucuruz Doan's Island, and the weekly Mobile Suit Bible, this time featuring the prototype Gundam. And with that, it is already time to have a look at this week's Gundam apparel, which for once isn't the whole lot. On the 3rd, Japanese Uniqlo's started selling shirts for 1,500 yen each, a little over 10 US, featuring the original Gundam, the Freedom Gundam, the Unicorn Gundam, and Mafty. And that's already it, so let's wrap up this week with the ongoing Gundam.info poll. This week, they wanted to know which mobile suit from Cucuruz Doan's Island were the most excited about. And the results are really interesting this time around. Currently in last place with only 76 votes is the new high mobility ground use Zaku 2 Egba Custom. Zakus typically tend to perform really well in polls like this, but despite being prominently featured and being a new design, it definitely failed to catch on in this poll. Then in 3rd place with quite the lead is the RX-78-02 with 117 votes. Again, not an amazing result considering how famous the Gundam is, but I think that might also just be part of why it's just in 3rd place. We know the Gundam, we've seen the Gundam, there just isn't much new about the Gundam to get excited about as opposed to some of the other machines that we see in the poll. Which is why the 2nd place machine clocks in at almost double the votes. Slegger's Custom Gym with 205 votes, plus mine, of course. Vanilla gyms tend to perform a bit worse in these polls, but the combination of being piloted by Slegger Law and really shining in the trailer is probably what pushed it up in the ranks. It definitely got me excited. And then currently in the lead with 215 votes, which really isn't a lot, so if you're a fan of the gyms, go ahead and vote in the poll with the link down below. We have Doan's Zaku, or in other words, the canonized meme Zaku. So yeah, I'm definitely not surprised that people are looking forward to what this thing is gonna do. And that has been all for this week's Gundam news. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great evening, and I'll see you all next week with more Gundam news.